Welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we talk all things MXGP, SMX, just anything moto training programs with former GP star and now trainer Brian Jorgensen. Obviously, firstly, thank you everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our partners in 24MX Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaleen and Dragon Energy for all their incredible support, as without them, none of this would be possible. All right, welcome Brian. How's life? And thanks again for joining us, mate. It's always good to catch up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for you having me on the podcast. I'm really good. Very busy as usual. But yeah, just getting ready for all the winter preparation. Now the season is kind of finished, and I have a little bit of time to organize the thing for the future. And just been in Holland and Belgium and Germany to do some training school last week. And I had my kids on holiday and was so lucky to go and see the factory Khmer MXGP team, their new workshop, which they have built and just finishing in a moment. And I must just say that was impressive. I've seen a lot of things in my career, also being a factory rider, but I must say things have changed a little bit since my days. With the organization and it was insane, honestly. It was what Hans have from the boss from the Khmer Racing Factory Yamaha team have built there for the guys and for Yamaha was just on a different level. I have never seen anything like it. So that was nice to he was very proud to show me around, and I think we were almost there for like a couple of hours and to see everything and, everything in detail. There's apartment there for the guys. There's gym there for the guys. There's built specific for the MXGP riders and the incredible facilities and organization behind it. I think it was 4,000 or 4,500 square meters of workshop and everything, including where the packing and washing the bikes and everything is with floor heating. So then you can imagine. So it's just insane. But it was nice to see, and definitely some organization behind that, and everything that went into it is just it's just nice to see.
Must be really cool for a rider to know you got all those resources and that infrastructure and that framework behind you. So all the tools are there to succeed, aren't they, mate? And, it's pretty impressive what they've done. And he's built on from what obviously the Vosters side have done with that Yamaha team. And now he's at Fantic. But yeah, really cool setup that. And yes, obviously with Renault, Blander and Yago, it's going to be really interesting. And it's going to be another interesting year, 2025 for them, mate, because they've got, obviously, like we've just said, all the ingredients for success.
The thing is, like, and Hansi put that, also on the line and said to me, he said, you know what, I know that this is not gonna create a world champion, but we have, world champion capability in the team. So I'm just bringing the best facilities to the riders. It's still going to be up to them, trying to do their best and, become a world champion. And that is, Hans's goal is to be a world champion in MXGP class and bring that title. He did it with Maxime Renault in the MX2 class with Khmer. And, his next goal is to be a world champion in MXGP class. And I believe that he have the riders that can do it. And he definitely have the facilities. I mean, you have a Kenny Van Duren, which is doing all the physical training, can be with the riders every day. And, you have the gym there. You have, your everything, what you can imagine to succeed. Basically you eliminate the excuse to not be a world champion. It's like I cannot even imagine you can have more than what you have. So the background is 100% ready to become a world champion. But as we know, racing is it's not an easy game. Things can go wrong and it's a long season. So there's a lot of other factors, but you can say that they definitely got the basic and the fundamental of everything to become organized and to do things in the right way. So I guess it's up to them now. It's up to the riders. Hans have created incredible facilities for the riders, and it's very nice to see.
Yeah, mate, well said. It's really cool to see. And they'll obviously be gunning for a big 2025. And obviously, a key area of your specialty is obviously training, the importance of the preseason, obviously doing the work off the bike to build that base, doing the work on the bike to build the base. So key that preparation this time of year, isn't it? The few months, obviously, get those holidays out of the way, have your fun, and then it's all sort of guns blazing. And obviously, with guys like Delandrin and Renault, they're just animals. They love the work. They're absolutely elite, off the bike and on the bike. So, yeah, just give us a little bit of insight into, I guess, what it takes. And there's so many things you need to put in place to prepare yourself for that big season, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that took me the longest was actually finding out how to plan and how to organize myself and how long I should start training what. Because like I said before in previous podcasts, there was not so much information when I raced. So I think today there's a lot more information and basically compared to the US, and the supercross and the outdoors, you have a very, you also don't have a lot of time off, but then they have a lot of time racing, and then they're racing supercross for 18 rounds or something like that, and 12 rounds outdoor. Where the motocross in the World Championship, MXGP and MX2, they have more preparation. They finish the season. Most of the riders have a couple of weeks, 3 weeks off, maybe depending. They will do testing after the season, when they're good shape. Some are moving to new teams, some people are staying. There will always be coming new things to test. And, with Kawasaki or Yamaha or Honda, there will be, I know Maxime, he's been down at Rinaldi's testing a lot of different things. And that is the time to do it, is the off season, end of the motocross season. And then you start testing and preparing, because then you're in shape, your speed is there. Straight away after Motocross Nation, they go, maybe have 1 week off, and then they have like 1 or 2 weeks of testing. And I tell you what, those days of testing, they're not easy. And you need to be in shape and you need to be on the ball, because the decision that you make in October is now going back to the factory. And then the information come back, and then the bike will start coming in that production, what you have choose and that spec that you have choose. So when you go off season and you're doing all the testing before the season come to a stop, to understand what you want, and all the information you have through the season should be justified there. Testing, you need to be very aware of not actually the speed. Of course, people will be standing there with the clock and understanding what kind of speed that you are doing. And then you basically goes by the feeling of how can I get faster, more efficient, maybe saving energy, maybe a different engine spec to make it more torquey, or whatever the riders need to feel more comfortable. And then they go off to the off season, and like I said, probably a couple of weeks off, and where I think most of the athletes, I mean, they are high performance athletes, they will probably choose to go, let's say home to where they live, and then do a little bit of cycling or do some other fun. It's not like they're gonna go home for most of them. I mean, I don't know anyone that goes home and just lie on the couch for 3 weeks and then start again. They will do different things, and some people will go skiing, cycling for fun. It's just actually nice to go out and do some training when you don't have to do the training. Like it is so many days, 340 days of the year or something like that, where you need to do it and you have to learn to enjoy to do it. And then there's a couple of weeks where you don't have to do it, when you can actually see, yeah, but now I can do whatever I want. I can lie on the couch. I can go out with my friends or whatever, go on holiday. But I think most people, and that was for myself also, when I learned how to actually prepare myself, then I thought, but now I have 3 weeks off. But if I don't go completely off, I remember I went to Mexico on holiday, and I was up every morning in the gym and still working out, because I thought, well, if I have 3 weeks off or 2 weeks off on this holiday, then I'm going to start a lot further down on the ladder. But if I keep just changing my program, and now I don't have to train hard, now I don't have to think about that pressure that I have to become better or whatever. So now I can go with low heart rate, focusing a little bit on my basic condition, and just actually even enjoy it. And then you feel like when you come home and it's go time again, you will start on a little bit higher level, but you kept yourself and the muscles active all the time. And, then for me, and I know also for the riders today, then a lot of them choose to go on a boot camp, where they do a lot of cycling or whatever they choose to do. I think mostly of the professional athlete motocross today, they will probably choose to go doing cycling, because all that compression with running, we have a lot of compression and hard work during the season. So a lot of people will start working on the basic condition, whatever they call like zone 2 or whatever that could be, and really work specific on those where they only do cycling, gym work in the afternoon, and working on specific body parts that you feel that needs to be stronger. It could be your legs, your core, your back, even your neck, or whatever it could be, and just start working on that. And then you basically go over to December, before Christmas. You will have like another 14 days, maybe a little bit of riding, but not like not boot camp riding, but just where you go into like some stages where you do 2 days off, 2 days on, and 2 days on, like this, and just working on small specific things. Because what I have discovered, and what I always say to the riders, if I had to work with a rider and I have to kind of prepare him to be better, technical wise on the bike, I would only have to do that in the off season. Because when it comes January, February time, and you have the first race in beginning of March, you're thinking about speed, you think about lap time, and you're getting a little bit stressed. Am I fast enough this year? I could have changed bike, I could have changed setting. How is that compared to this guy over here? When you start comparing yourself, and if I'm standing there and saying, oh, you have to change this, and remember, don't use the clutch, and let go of the rear brake before it's something that you have to implement in the riders in the off season, where you said, okay, today we're going to go out and we're going to do maybe training without the clutch, or whatever it could be. I always set the drills for the riders just to work on some of the basic things, because the basic things give the opportunity to not think about the basic, but just think also becomes more natural. So when you're doing new drills, why it's all new and it's not effective in the beginnings, because you're still thinking about it. But when you learn not to think about it, and your technique is just on your instinct, and it's just on, this is a normality of what I do, it becomes more efficient and becomes more, how can I say, more effective. So off season is such an important thing. And like I said, if I have just knew that when I was young, if I had any information, it sounds stupid and for me to say, but like I said, there was just no information. There was a few information, and the best riders in the world will have that information because they were working with these people that have this information. Or like Stefan, yeah, okay, he had a good basic, his dad was a 5 times world champion, but I came from where a little place where motocross was not that famous, and there was not that many GP riders, so there was no information. And it was almost like in the beginning, like if they had some information, they will kind of hold it back, for whatever reason. Maybe some reason was like, I don't want him to become better than me, kind of reason. I don't know, but anyway, yeah. And then you go over in December and January, and then you really start drilling down and getting some motos done and doing some hard work. And then you have to have a little bit time up to the GP season as well to recuperate a little bit from all the training, and then it's go time. So you can say the amount of time that we are spending on the bike is almost the same in America. The only thing that they're racing all the time. It's high stress. It's a lot of races. There's a lot more risk, because they have to ride on the limit, from the beginning, from the first Supercross at the Los Angeles. Yeah, A1, yeah. There's a lot of stress from there on, you got to be ready. So, so that was my perspective on, I think that the off season is a very important part. And I always say to the rider, it's better to do more consistency and start a little bit earlier, because that gives you a little bit of freedom. Then when you have, a small injury, you can still come back a little bit. I remember that for myself. I had one season where, I was so well prepared. I just came off the previous season, 2003, being 4th in the world. And I had so much motivation and drive to let's just keep going, because you're thinking more is better. and then I went actually to Orlando that year to train in 2004 season, and you can say I had so much motivation to do things, and suddenly there was some small injury came up, and that small injury led to operation, and it kind of already folded apart, but I always came back and had like podiums, like I said, with Teuthenthal, I was 3 weeks off the bike with a carpal tunnel operation, and then I came back and won both motos, and it's like, how did I do that? But that was the preparation that I did all that winter. I did a really good work. I almost didn't have any time off, maybe 2 weeks, and that's what I said to the rider: it's better to prepare a little bit more and earlier, and making the foundation stronger, because in that way you don't get so stressed. If you get a little thumb injury that takes a week, it very easily can start falling apart, So, and if you start late, that, okay, I have this program here, but then there was 2 weeks in Sardinia where it was bad weather. Okay, let's go to red sand, and then you travel up. It can be very stressful sometimes. But the preparation of winter is incredible and important, I think.
Yeah, well said. Really great insight there, mate. Particularly interesting about that mentality as well, that edge of, you keep yourself rolling a bit, keep yourself fit, keep yourself so you're not completely going back to zero in a way, kind of. And, that sort of gives you that mental confidence as though you're still working while the other guys might be taking a bit of a break. Like you listen to some of the boxers and they talk about that in their training programs. I'll start a bit earlier because, you look back to some of those documentaries, even like a Floyd Mayweather one where he's like, yeah, it's 1 a.m. and I like to train at that time because I know the other guy's sleeping. It sort of gives me that inner strength. But like you said, it is important to have that off-season, little bit of a mental refresh and, yes, that mentality, because it's a long season, isn't it, mate? It's brutal and everything needs to be pretty dialed come racing time. But yeah, and obviously going back to the fundamentals as well, like you said as well, mate, you can't forget that. And it's a good little refresh to go back and just even do some more basic drills, and it just sort of puts things into perspective, doesn't it, mate? Because there's a lot of things to take on in a motocross rider, and those kind of things probably get forgotten. There's always probably something that gets forgotten or you don't have time to dedicate to. So it's all about, I guess, channeling your resources in what you want to get fixed and maximizing your strengths too.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And, like I said, once I kind of figure it out that this was the way to do it, like you said, if you're, fighting for a world championship and you have, let's say five people or 5 riders that are capable of winning, you got to look at the basic thinking, how much do you actually want to sacrifice to be a little bit better than them? Because they all are really good, But like you said with Malin, when he thought about other people having their break, he would be doing a little bit more work. And the same, kind of thing when people ask about how do you build up confidence? Well, confidence in my world came from all the work effort that I was, that I used to put in my racing program. And also, a lot of things that normal people will call as a sacrifice. How much do you want to sacrifice? How natural do you think it becomes to sacrifice everything? Well, if you want it bad enough, there is actually no sacrifice, because you just do it because you really love doing what you love. And then you can see those riders, there's maybe only I don't know exactly, but I can see there's maybe a 5 or 6 people in a group in the top level of motocross that is willing to sacrifice, which is not a sacrifice, but have so much interest that you just live the sport, you think the sport, and you just keep working, and you're so focused. It's nothing else than being a leader of a big company, or be an actor, or whatever you want to do in life. Is really about finding the right epic and finding the right things to do where you feel that you are so in love with what you do. If you love to push yourself, if you love to take risk, it becomes natural, and you don't have parents breathing down your neck telling you what to do and how to do, and but you actually do it by your own instinct. I think that's where the preparation and the natural capability comes out, and it becomes like an easy path to go. Well, not easy, but something that becomes natural. That's what I saw with myself. You see like Jet Lawrence, Anthony Caroli, Prado, they kind of just play their way through life, in general with motocross, because they love the sport so much, and the actually racing part is such a natural aspect for them that they're just going out to race, that they're not doing because they have to win because of Honda, because of gas. They actually do it because they want to win, and I think it's a very important epic here in top athletes, is that you can see that people that are actually just wants to win, because it's a personal battle between yourself. How much can I develop all the time? How can I become a winner? And when you start winning, you become obsessed with winning, and then you want to do more, and you get that, drive of all that winning and wanting to perform on a high level without anyone that putting pressure on you. And I think that's where it becomes very, very effective and very nice feeling, that you go to the races, you want to win, nobody tells you have to win, but you have that instinct because all the hard work that you put in through the months, through the year, through the weeks, it's just, you just want to, fuck yeah, I can do this. And for myself, I used to build up my confidence during the winter as well, living in Denmark, and in some months of the winter, going out when it was like, looking at the weather forecast in the morning, it's like -10, and you're like, I don't really want to do that, but I'm gonna feel comfortable with doing the thing that I feel uncomfortable with. And when you can learn and teach yourself those things, and you're really just doing, because not every day can be driven by motivation, but it's discipline. When you can discipline yourself to do things that you don't like, I think it's a very important aspect of racing and becoming a good athlete, or maybe even becoming, successful in anything. It's like this. There's definitely things that there's definitely days where you wake up and you just think, how am I going to do that today? But because you are trained to, feel comfortable without being, you can say being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think it becomes a normality, and that's why I put myself in those situations. I used to put, that was before you had like really good wind vest, for cycling. So I used to put like newspaper on my stomach to make sure that I don't get cramp in my stomach. So I used like a lot of newspapers inside and a good jacket, a cycling jacket on. And then I would use to go out, and it will take me, hours with my fingers. I would come home and my fingers would just be freezing, and it will start hurting. And that will take a couple of hours because they start feeling normal again. And that little drill for me was something that I used to think about when I sat next to Stefan Edwards or Joel Smith. And I was like, you know what, guys, you have not done what I did this winter to sit here and believe that I can actually beat you guys today. Obviously, it didn't happen a lot that I beat Stefan Edwards, but some days I believed, and a lot of days I believed I could do it. And then, of course, there's another things going out doing it. But it all starts with believing and believing yourself that you can do it. And and then those times when it actually happened, it was such a, you can say, satisfaction and relief, thinking, fuck, how did I do that? But I think that was all the base of visualizing that I can do it, all the hard work that I put into it, all the things that, like I said, for normal people would be a sacrifice. It was just something I did. I felt comfortable without, with being uncomfortable. And I think it's an important part of, be disciplined and do what, say and then actually going out doing it. A lot of people talk and this is what I'm going to do, but actually doing it is a different thing. So I have, built up this mindset that I said, if I'm going to go cycling tomorrow, I'm definitely doing it. Not now, it's been raining a couple of days here in Spain, which is not normal, but then you just have to go. I have like a kind of a peloton here, and you try to do that before you do the school run and do the cycling, 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. But it's, when I already commit myself to do the day before, there's definitely not many times that I don't do what I've already said to myself, because again, to build up confidence, you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror. And if I'm saying things to myself and this is what you're going to do tomorrow and don't do it, I actually don't let anyone else down, but I let myself down. And letting myself down is one of the toughest things for me to actually deal with. If I cannot do it for some reason, or let's say one day I'm just so tired and I don't do it, which would never happen when I race, but today, because, I don't have to do it, but I still have that kind of drive to actually, say something to myself, and then I fucking follow it through in the next day and actually doing the work. And that gives me a great satisfaction of actually believe in myself. And, fuck yeah, I'm honest with myself. When I say I do something, I fucking do it, and that gives me a drive also to my athletes, because when I say to them, is this is what you have to do, and you don't do it, then I of course get pissed off, because I think it's so important to sit behind the gate and look yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I said I'm gonna do, and this is what I am gonna do. So I think that's a great way to feel comfortable and build confidence with.
Yeah, it's awesome insight, mate. Really great stuff. And obviously those principles that you sort of live by as a racer, it's cool that you carry them into your life today as well. And yeah, it's really great to hear you about how you come to the gate, I guess, ready for battle, ready for war. And there's no doubt in your mind that you've prepared properly, because you know that you have. And I guess it's a good way to be in many ways, because, results don't always go your way in motocross. So people are gaining their confidence from results, where that can be a bit of a double-edged sword. You can come in really high and really low. Whereas if you're coming in based on confidence from your work done, that's a really good approach to have mentally as well, because then you're like that warrior on the gate. You're looking next to the guys you're racing against, heavy hitters, mate, some of the best ever that have done it. So yeah, it's really cool to sort of look back and think, those hard days, why you don't want to do them at the time, they end up being your best days, don't you, when you look back? Because you got to dig deep when you're racing, so you got to dig deep in your training, and it all translates into making you the best athlete you can. And I guess a testament to that is not many people can say they've beaten the likes of Everett, Smets, and even Carmichael, like we spoke of at the Nations. You beat him. So yeah, just sort of all, you look back and you guess that mindset you had definitely helped you do those incredible things in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe to this day today that you don't get born as being confident. Confidence is something, of course, is family related. The way that people, your parents bring you up, and I was brought up in a way that there was always a lot of compliments, and I never got told that I was no good at doing this and no good at doing this. For sure, there will be consequences if I don't remember my things. But, because my dad said we have this time available, I expect you to do this. And if you don't take that serious, and I have to take my job serious to be able to provide for you, yeah, he will get pissed off, big time. But he never got pissed off if I made a bad result, because he could see that there was nobody that wanted it more than me, because I had that instinct that I loved this sport so much. I remember going out practicing, and then we lived close to a farmhouse, and we always used to take this farm road, and we were out practicing all day on Saturday. And then the bike was, when I was young, was standing on a trailer, and then the road, when we came up, this gravel road was probably about 4 kilometers long. And I said to my dad, can I just take the bike off the trailer and just drive those 4 kilometers and just do wheelies and stuff, And he used to be like, yeah, whatever. And sometimes he would say no, because we needed to get home for dinner or something like that. And that would really like, depress me almost. Like I would be like really pissed off, because I just wanted that little, and that just tells you a little bit about how much I actually love the sport and just being on that bike all the time. And that's why I think also my dad never felt that he had to push me. Whatever that happens on the track would be my desire to win. So if he can just see that I did my best, or I didn't, he will always say to me, if you crash and you start kicking the bike and stuff and throwing your helmet, he said that would be the last time that we race. So he gave me, a lot of good a good upbringing of how to behave and how to respect the sponsors and everything you have, and that drive of just wanted to be the best, or just obsessed with trying to be winning, that kept through all my career. And even if you go into the World Championship and it becomes a lot more difficult winning, you kind of just thinking, well, then I just have to do more work, and every year, every month, every race was just a battle against yourself, where you just want to perform on a higher level that you did last weekend, because you should learn from some of the mistakes. You should recognize your own weaknesses. And you should work, getting stronger in the weaknesses that you have, and not always just working on the strength, because that's what most people want to do. They just want to see, yeah, I'm really good at this. I am really good at scrubbing, so then I will keep scrubbing. Yeah, but what about turn? Are you good at that? Let's work on the weaknesses. And it's not always easy to be that critical for yourself, but I think that's what you have to do if you want to become a good racer. You have to always looking for that edge, and always have to be creative and finding out, how can I be just a little bit better? Why do I need to take this corner when we practice? When I practice with my riders, we probably take this corner like 100 times. And it's like, oh, this is kind of boring. Yeah, it is. It's very boring, and it's very lonely to be one of the best in the world, because you have to do drills that nobody really wants to do. They want to do all the fun stuff. But unfortunately, to become very, very good at what you do, you need to know exactly when to brake, when to release the brake, and when to get on the throttle, and listening to what gear I should be in. And, can I go in a higher gear if I have more confidence coming into that corner? That means when I go out the corner, at the epic of the corner, I would go in third gear instead of second gear. And that means that the drive of the torque of the bike is completely different. Suspension work, and then you're suddenly gaining like 200 of a second. So yeah, it's a constant, drill. To be or want to be one of the best in the world is it's a constant drive. But I think the things that really drive me was actually believing that one day I could do it. My goal was, of course, to be a world champion. That was a high goal from where I came from. But I proven that I could, be one of the fastest in the world riding, motorcycle at the MXGP level. And for me, that's some of the most important. And then actually knowing that I have done absolutely my best to become the best version of myself.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's really cool. Obviously, that practicing with intention, like you said, just not going through the motions. You got to have that sort of mindset. I want to get better every day. And, you look at some of the, the statistics you hear over the years, like the 10,000 hour principle of doing something to, I guess, in a way, master it. You hear like the golfers, like the Tiger Woods and or footballers, in those academies, they're going in as like really young kids, and then they sort of build that into the curriculum, the footballing, because they need that work and they need the touches. And then it just becomes like an extension of your body, like you want the bike to be. And even then the chances of becoming a pro, I remember reading some stat, it's like 0.012% of kids that go into academy, so they're already really good before they go in, actually become professionals. Obviously there's outliers like Ajax in the Netherlands, just freaks at developing young talent and making them into professionals, but it really is a lot that has to go into it, and it has to come from the person, from the athlete, from the kid, like you said, mate, because you see sometimes, you'd probably see it with your Blue Crew work, the parents want it more than the kid, but that's not a sustainable way to do it, because when you become a professional, it's all on you, isn't it, mate? You can't always have someone pushing you on. So it comes, I guess, there's a lot of respect, discipline, hard work, and you're obviously having that shift that you're grateful and appreciative for what goes on. So yeah, just your insights on some of them, mate, because it's pretty interesting stuff.
No, definitely. It's gotta come for yourself, and it's gonna come. It's gonna come in in a family environment where you actually know your goals and you completely agree where you are now and where you want to go in the future. Not everyone wants to become the best in the world, which is fine. Not everyone's wants to become a millionaire. I think the word saying a millionaire, of course, there's a lot of people that wants to do that, but the probably the most stupid but the most easy way to be a millionaire is to win in the lottery. But you see the statistic of winning in the lottery and how many people that actually invest and become richer than what they have earned from winning the lottery is very small. Because they go and they have no respect for that money, that they just all that money that they just spending on stupid things. Where if you are Elon Musk, or really work hard and you're very clever at what you do, you're living minimalistic stuff in life, and you're not doing it just for the money, you're doing it for the sake of creating something that started here, and you're going up to here, whatever the amount is between there, if that's with 1 0 or it's with 6 zeros or whatever behind that, it's not really the motivation to create something. And I always say to the riders, this is the thing that you have to think about. You don't have to think about, how much money can I make when I become this, and this, because this is such a personal, battle against yourself, all the time, every time you get up in the morning, every time that you are out racing, It's about you racing yourself, the track, and with the motorcycle. And that, if you don't have that drive and just wanted to perfectionize that all the time, but you're thinking, when I'm here, then I'm gonna make that money if I sign that contract. I think, not saying that it's not correct to do it like that, but that was never the how can I say, the drive for me to actually become a factory rider, because then I knew that I can make a lot of money. Of course, it naturally comes with it. When you become a factory rider, you earn a lot more money, but the drive for me was always the battle against myself and proving to myself that no matter where you come from, no matter what kind of family aspect that you're coming from, if they're rich or poor, or in my situation where I lost my dad when I was very young, I kind of had so much drive to prove to myself, a battle against myself, that I also, I never backed down for anything. I would give everything what I have. And of course, I had always my dad in mind as well, thinking, if I quit now, just because it's not easy, then I have to think about all the hours that he got up every morning thinking, I don't want to fucking go to work today. Sorry, my language. I don't want to go to work today, but he did it because, it was his responsibility to do it, and he wanted to do it so I could become successful, and he's feeding a family, and, in that way. So, that's something that I always thought about, when things was a little bit tough or really tough, and when you almost lose hope of actually becoming what you want to become, you because you think that all the hard work should justify that you should get better results. Where I said, all the hard work that you're doing is just you doing that to prepare for success. But maybe that success never come. I have seen a lot of riders that work really hard, very good riders that never won a Grand Prix, if you call that success. And then you think, yeah, but I worked really hard, and I probably can say that I worked as hard as Stefan Evers, but I never become 10 times world champion, So my training effort was never justified of the results that I was getting, but I always thought it's a good help. If I put myself in that position, and let's say I take the start of a MXGP race, I would need to understand that I need to prepare for that, and I need to be in good shape, because that would be more devastating for me to lead that race and falling back because I was not in good shape. Then I lost that chance. Maybe you never get the chance to take a whole shot and lead MXGP race, but I knew that I was a pretty good starter. I was capable of taking the start if everything clicked. And I certainly wanted to make sure that if I get that opportunity, I wanted to make sure that I build myself up and my confidence strong enough with the preparation that I did, that I will not back down just because of my condition.
Yeah, it's really cool, mate. And obviously battling through that adversity and obviously fighting through pain barriers, that all sort of helps grow the complete package, doesn't it, mate? And it was really cool what you said, thinking back to your father and obviously the consequences for not doing the right things or whatever they need to be in place too, because you'd probably see it as well, mate, with the kids of this day and age. You hear a lot of, they have a lot of freedom one feels, compared to when I was growing up. It's all that technology, even for me, wasn't there. So, I guess that sort of softer touch obviously doesn't really work sometimes. So you got to find that balance, I guess. You as a parent would know between the hard and the being reasonable, because it sometimes takes something bad for people to learn, doesn't it, mate? So that's one of the things you need to implement into the training as well, because it's not easy motocross, and it just helps people if they hear the truth, isn't it? You can't sort of gloss over things, but if you tell them the truth at the point, at the time it happens, then you can work on it. Whereas if you don't want to, if you're worried about hurting someone's feelings, that's not really helping anyone, is it, mate? So really cool things to sort of touch on there. And, if you let those habits develop, it's really hard to reverse the bad habits. So all that off-season work, like you said, if you got to be straight up and fix it now and then move forward, don't you?
Yeah. And then, making sure that there's a lot of things that we can say in life, and not every time that you want to say something it come across like always in the best way, best political way, but I think there's a lot of things you can say, and especially when you're working with kids, you need to understand the personality that you're working with. And then as a parent, I always say to the parents, when I'm standing there and the coach, and he said, like, I said this to him, and he said, yeah, but I said that too, 2 or 10 times, 100 times to him, and you're saying exactly the same, you're saying exactly the same words that I've just, said for 10 years. I said, yeah, but but I'm not your son's parents. So it comes from a different person. I have a different title, meaning that I'm a coach. So I'm not your parents. I come across in a different way. And that's why I think, in many times that parents hire coaches, because it's just really, really difficult. If my son choose to race, I have actually never taught, he'd been riding a little bit, and I've actually never taught him directly how to ride a motorcycle. He just copied my style, and, seeing, what I'm teaching the other people when he's been out with me on training schools. And then I can see next time that we ride is like, oh, he actually was just not looking at birds when he was out last time. He was actually listening to what I say. But because I was not speaking to him, his ears was out here. It was like he was at the alert of me not talking to him and saying, you have to do it like this. He was just, I would talk to another guy and you said, it's better that if you do like this. And he was like, oh, that was a good way for learning. I could see that, So I think it's a very difficult topic, when you talk about parents and they want to carry all the titles, being a parent, the financial, background. They want to be a coach as well, because it's damn, expensive to, enough to have the bikes and everything else. And they want to do all the titles. And that's where, things maybe doesn't come out in the best way. And a lot of arguments will start in the family, and then, ending up when they get it old enough, therefore, sorry, I cannot do this anymore, And in the same way, I think the parents also, you work so closely with your kids for so many years, and then they start becoming adults, and you have invested all this time and money in your kid, and now they're starting to come to a team, and now they're starting to become successful, and then you're kind of like on the sideline, like, hello, I I created all this opportunity for me. Have you forgot me? A little bit what maybe happened at that time. I think most people that loves motocross have seen the Ryan Villapoto story, with his dad, and you kind of have, all that investment, and you are selling houses and almost going bankrupt to get your son to become successful. And then, Ryan was big enough, he was an adult, he had his own girlfriend, and said, you know what, Dad, I don't need you anymore, And as hard as it can sound from the outside. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know, even if I spoke with Ryan and Motocross of Nation and have met him a couple of times, I don't even know the true story, So it could be financially, maybe there's some problems, but of course it's difficult, especially when you're talking about in America, then you start making millions, and you think as a parent, I sacrificed all this, I sold my house here to get a, camper for you to ride around. And now when I need you, you kind of forget me, or you don't want anything to do with me. But I think, without knowing so much about Ryan's situation, and I should not comment on that, but I think maybe it was more the way that he was still trying to be hard with Ryan. And, that's as parent, you have to let go in a certain stage. He's like 18 now or 17. He's a professional motocross racer. And you kind of have to step back and say, do what you need to do. But I can imagine that could be really hard to because you're working together all the time. It's always on the practice track, and now you have made all this fundamental for your son, and now you became, Ryan is supporting his family with money to live, and it's a very difficult topic, I think, and I don't even know what's the right or wrong of this, but yeah, I think as a parent, it's not easy to be a motocross dad, but I think you need to know your roles. You need to respect the age and the time, and trying to support your kids as the best way as possible, and not being horrible, because it's still your job to be parents and supporting your kid in the best way, to bring them up and not bring them down. Because if you're a racer, and if you want to win, and if you do it for the right reason, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, that wants to win more than actually the rider himself, because we work hard, we take a lot of risk, and the reward of doing all that is, of course, winning. So, which is a very, for some people, like my life was a very small part of my career was winning, but podiums was a bigger part. And then, doing my best was the biggest part of racing, and then you have so many failures and you have a very little success. But funny enough, no matter if you have one success or 10 success or 100 success or how many GPs you have won or races, you do forget them like they were yesterday. I mean, I can emotionally relate to Teutzenthal 2004 when I won both motos. Like, I can still really get, like, my heart is just like, wants to jump out of my body, because the excitement of actually understanding that today was my day. It was the highlight of my career in many ways. But today I was the best. I beat everyone, and how I did that, was just the puzzle coming together, and it's just such a satisfaction and excitement that lasts for a lifetime. It's like I will never forget that. That would probably be the last thing I will remember when I have to go away from here one day. And though all those memories will go through your mind, because that was so difficult to get, but it's also very appreciated that you actually was managed to do that with the little, you can say, the little knowledge that I have. But there was a lot more failures than success, for sure.
Yeah, all that hard work pays off, mate. That's for sure. It's a good lesson, even though it doesn't happen instantly. It takes a long time. It takes that dedication and commitment, but you can get there. And I guess what you were saying, it's an interesting dynamic about the trainer and the parent, because obviously the trainer can probably be a little bit more forceful in their words, because obviously you don't have to live with them per se. They might, like you were saying, they might listen more to them just coming from an outside voice even. And I guess it's a really tough one to manage for anyone, isn't it, really, mate? And I guess, letting go, the parents sort of transferring the child into the professional ranks is also not that easy, because they feel like they're on the outside, and it must be tough. Like, you look at the training programs in America, like the Alton Bakers and the Star Racing, it's just, there's everything there. It's all there ready for you to go. So all that training and the mentality, and I guess you hope that it's built a strong enough human to handle that kind of stuff, because those training programs aren't for everyone, are they? And there's multiple approaches you can go for winning, but would love your thoughts on it, mate. What do you think of it? Testing yourself against your competitors every day, really. It's like a massive flex every day in the gym, on the cycling, on the bike, testing, training, at the races. It's always a measuring stick, isn't it, mate? So it must be quite hard for a lot of these younger people to deal with it. And I guess it's a bit of a rude awakening a lot of the time, but I suppose it builds a pretty strong athlete, and it's not for everyone. Like, you see what Sexton, he does his own thing. Kitchen left star and had a really good year on the Kawasaki. Vial's doing his own thing. So there's different ways to skin a cat per se, isn't it, mate? But what's your take on those training programs, those all in, everything's there? It's a very efficient way to do it in some ways, because, you're not wasting time traveling to tracks and to and from workshops. It's all there. It's a one-stop shop. So there's definitely a lot of good about it, isn't there?
Yeah, I had a discussion. I will not say who I had the discussion with, but I see one of the strong point. Like, let's take like Star Yamaha as example. They are the same facilities, even if Eli is doing a lot of work in Colorado where he lives. He also comes down, and you can see, like, Hayden Deegan choose to go up to Colorado and work with Eli last boot camp, you say, for him, and that really worked for him, training with Eli, and that worked for Eli as well, because they're in two different classes, but you have the a little bit older experience and already won some championships, and you have the crazy kid that want to win championship. How do I deal with the pressure, and for Eli, he saw some of the things that Hayden could do on a bike, and try to copy that and be more efficient, be more aggressive in the right places, and the determination and consistency that Eli have to become to winning championships. That they use each other, and I think that was such a smart thing. And as I also see with Garrett Swanepoel, they're working with Star Yamaha, that they're renting or bought this compound of Ricky Carmichael, where they want to train together. They create the facilities for the riders to, maybe not all the time racing together, but what would be more effective, creating racing situations in a daily basis routines must be beneficial towards your racing program, because every time that I remember I practiced, you come out, I was living in Italy at some point, and you come out and you practice with other people, but it's always that excitement. Oh, how is it going to be against Stefan on hardpack, but when you're racing together week in and week out, pretty much, with Star Yamaha, or you have some of the best racers in the world, some of the best racers in America. So you actually all the time know your status of going to the races, because everything with racing becomes a normality, but also in practice it becomes a normality. And when everything becomes a normality, you're more relaxed. The stress factor come down, because it's just familiar, experiences that you had during the week becomes like a race day. So race day is kind of like easy compared to how it was in the week, because we train Monday, Tuesday, whatever the kind of program they have. And I think that's a little bit what we are missing over here in Europe, to be honest with you. And the guy that I spoke with is, about this, is running quite a big team. And I said, I don't understand why those riders are not riding together during off season, to say them, instead of say, I want to go to south of Spain, and I want to go to north of Spain, and then another one wants to go to Sardinia. That is completely nonsense in my world. If I was a team manager, I would create the atmosphere for the riders and say, this is what you need to do. Not every day you have to race, and ride together, but during the winter series, if you can create a race simulation during the winter, it must surely have an effect when it comes to the first, the 2nd of March in Sardinia, where you're like, yeah, I raced that guy, the last 2 months. So I know exactly what speed. I know, we used to push each other. We need to be creative with the lines. But if you're always pulling yourself back and said, okay, I would just ride for myself against my pit board, I'm not sure if you can bring that same racecraft that you can learn doing practice as well. Because one of the things that Ricky said to me, he said, even if I was training alone, my mom was so hard on me, and she was really pushing me all the time, really working, and where I could be more efficient and where I could be more aggressive, and so on. So she created the race aspect, the race simulation with lap times and pushing and, whatever she did. And that became a normality. So when you said, when people see me and they say, oh, I'm riding on the limit. Yeah, maybe I am, but I did that last week, and I did that the week before, and that's my riding style. And that means when I learn myself to ride on that limit, it becomes a normality. When the bike hangs out here, I know exactly what to do with my body, because the position I've been, in Florida the last 3 days, I've been riding like that, where the bike kicks off because I'm on the limit all the time. And I would say Ricky was probably not the most efficient and most smooth rider, but he got the job done. And that was because of his racecraft and the way that he raced, and how he could elevate in the speed of the race. He could go on 100%, and then he could just go 110, and then he go back to 110, to 100%. But when he went on 110, it was scary from other people from looking outside. But for himself, it was just a normality, because that's how he used to train during the week. So I think, in some aspects, training with Eldon Baker, I think it's great. It would have been great for me, because I love that. I was always a good practicer as well, but maybe needed someone to race with during practice. But like you said, it's not for everyone. We saw that with James Stewart working with Eldon. We saw it with Ken Roxon, where you can say Eldon came out with a bit of a, because he's been so successful with Ricky and everyone since then, Ryan Villapoto, he worked very intense with him. And then you can say the next shot was Ryan Dungey, and then, Ken Roxon was also there. And he said, okay, so let's put this, do you want to race for 10 years and win a lot of championships, putting 110% in and earning a lot of money? Or do you want to do it for 15 or 20 years, earning a little money, taking the same kind of risk there is with racing, and then maybe getting injured, or whatever you want in life? But in this Eldon Baker program, it was designed to do maybe shorter career, but becoming very successful, and making enough money so you can retire and you don't have to work that hard for 15 years. Ricky Carmichael, was pretty much only 10 years that he raced. He retired when he was 26, I believe, or 25 or 26. He started when he was 16. So that's the choice you have in life. Either you do that and you get the full out of everything, or Ken Roczen is still making good money, and now we have, to his advantage, we have all the other races that creates, the VMX, the World Championship, Supercross in Europe, and all the other events that created a lot of money. But that was maybe a little bit more luck, because nobody knew that 6 years ago that it's going to go that way. So if he had to rely only on winning the AMA Supercross championships to earn a lot of money, then he would probably not have been as successful as he is now with going and doing what he do now.
Yeah, it's super cool insight, mate. It's really cool. Like, it sort of streamlines and fast tracks where you want to get to, isn't it? Doesn't it, really, training in those things, because and learn what it takes really quickly. And yeah, like you said, you can't replicate that intensity in training and on the other disciplines too, unless you're doing it with those guys every day. So it's a really cool environment and framework. Like we said, not for everyone, but it definitely is a really good, quick way to sort of, within yourself, you learn what it needs to take to get to the top. And it's pretty brutal, but it's very beneficial, as we've seen those kind of programs. So every day's a battle. You got to show up ready for war, and you get that strength from within eventually, I'm sure, and then you really become quite confident when the gate drops, because you're racing these guys every week and you know what it takes. And yeah, like you said, you're on that limit, so you know how to handle and control yourself, and what to do in those situations, because you've already been exposed to them. So really cool stuff, mate. So before we let you go, mate, any final thoughts? You can touch some more on the training program stuff. What's the week looking like for you, mate? I'm sure we'll keep these regular at the moment, mate, because it's always good to chat to you. The time flies. So yeah, any final thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and start preparing some. So I have some cycling camps coming up. I have the masterclass for Yamaha, where we're gonna pick out the 125, 85, and 65, and hopefully get them off to a good start. So we're gonna be there 2 days in the 12th and 13th of November. Gonna be in south of France in Beaucaire, I think it's called. I'm not sure, actually. I think it's called Beaucaire. And it's going to be Nancy Van der Ven, Pauline Gauthier, and myself, spending 2 days with the riders. I've just set out the program for everyone. And, in those 2 days, we kind of like trying to go through the topic of a little bit of learning, teaching them a little bit about training, the most efficient thing with being, becoming a motocross professional rider. It's all the hard training and the dedication you have to put into it. And then, of course, like giving them 2 days where we're going to be doing some technical drills, especially the first day. We're going to do like 3 different sessions. They get a session with each coach. And we kind of, agreed, from the beginning that this is the line that we are coaching in. Nobody says that you have to stand up and then the other ones you have to sit down. We kind of have a red line and say this is the way that we believe that they should ride a motorcycle, and then we can pronounce and doing things in a different way. So we all have our small specific that we are very strong in. My specific is, cornering and, the way that I planning the brakes and the gears and stuff, and where Nancy is more about, looking ahead and foot peg position, and Pauline Gauthier is like more like smooth throttling. He was I would say like a really smooth rider, very good at choosing the right gear. So he's going to be his specialty. So yeah, I hope it's going to be 2 good days with the kids, and this is the future of motocross. So it's important also for us to educate and saying the right things, and something that can work on for the future. And then it goes over to my cycling camp and fitness camp, which is going to be end of November. And then, soon enough, it's going to be starting for boot camp in the 6th of December. And then it pretty much goes into the 22nd of December. And then I have some Christmas and probably go back to Denmark and see my kids, and then start again on the 28th to the 6th. And it's just, and then that winter is done. And then we go into the TP season. So Yeah, I'm excited, and like I said, I love to do what I do, and my satisfaction and only satisfaction is actually to see when my rider actually are improving. Is of course it's the end goal for me is like trying to for them to win a championship in whatever category they're in. But you more start working as a coach, and I let go a little bit of those ambitions. I kind of like, I wanted to give the best to each rider and understand that not everyone can be a winner, and I can do my best to create more safety, create a better riding style, create a more understanding about what to set up the bike and what to do and so on, and basically just make the sport more safe. And if they win a championship, like my rider this year became a European champion in 250 class, and the year before she won the 125, and her next goal is to be a world champion. And my job, you can say, is trying to make that happen, and together with her, with a good personality, with, like I said, I always said to people is, coming to my training school is more than a training school, because it's actually also educating them how to behave, what to do, how to deal with your mindset, because it is a tough sport in so many ways, and you need to have the right mindset to do things. So I can see they performing, or getting better with the physical strength, or even they become a lot more routine in what they do, and they keep their promise. That's a win for me, because that could be a rider that maybe didn't have any structure, he didn't have any routines, he said things that he didn't really mean, so he didn't really do it. But when I can create a rider that actually stand in for himself, I believe in the same terms I'm giving him more comfortable, and more confidence in life. And that's also some of my teaching. Not everyone can become a professional racer, not everyone can become a world champion, but we all can be more honest with ourselves, and we can all be better persons every day if we want to work on it. And that's also my goals in life is, I am working on myself every day to become, a better person, and definitely stand in for who I want to be. And that means that who I want to be and who I think I'm going to be, I need to be as well. I need to be loyal for myself and very honest. And then I want the same thing for my riders. I cannot stand that people are lying. I cannot stand that people said, I want to do this and I'm going to do that, and then they don't do anything. That's poison to me, because I said, the chances that you are becoming, Jorge Pardo or Jet Lawrence are probably, it's not many people that can become this kind of a rider. But what you can become is a good person. That's easy, because it's self-control. It's like, who do I want to be in life, and that's another part of my job I see as a coach. So when I'm coaching, I'm not only just want them to be the next Stefan Evers or the next who whatever. I want them just to be good people, and I want them to be honest with themselves, and do what they say they're going to do, and that's a win for me.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Be accountable and responsible for the actions. Really good stuff, mate. We'll definitely get you back on when you're next free, mate. But yeah, that's been Brian Jorgensen on the Live Motocross podcast. Obviously, thanks everyone for listening, and our partners in 24MX, Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right, thanks again, Brian. Been another ripper chat, and we'll catch up soon.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.